Some of our subscribers have been asking, how do I help my kid focus in school? Okay, parents, this is a tricky one. First of all, you're probably not there in school, so you don't have a lot of control over what your kid is doing there. I think we also need to make a distinction between the ability to focus and the motivation to focus. Those are a little different thing. Let's talk about ability first. Sometimes kids struggle with focus and attention in a way that could be diagnosed as attention deficit disorder or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. You've probably heard of those. Maybe you're familiar with those because of your own kid. There's some tricky issues when it comes to the factors that contribute to ADD or ADHD. It's not our intent to get into all of those in this video today. But even if that's what's going on with your child, there are still some things that you can do to help them increase their focus. I'm going to share two specific tips with you after we talk very briefly about the control and maturity model. If you've browsed through many of the videos here on the Positive Parenting playlist, you've probably noticed that we talk a lot about control and maturity. Here's the quick version. As kids become more mature, they get to have more control, and they're capable of taking more control. But maturity is not just about age. In another video, we talked about the 3 stages of moral development. One of the places you can find that is in the Teaching Kids Responsibility video that you'll find here on the playlist. In that particular video, we made a distinction between age and stage. Stage 1 is the least mature. This is where kids are very self-centered, very selfish, they're demanding and manipulative. They tend to fight to get what they want instead of working something out appropriately. This is all about stage 1. At stage 1, kids don't get to have a lot of control. When we move to stage 2, we stop fighting and start cooperating. That's the hallmark of stage 2. When kids are cooperating, they will negotiate. They're open to communication. You can tell that we can do a lot more as a parent to assist them to stay focused if they're on stage 2. Stage 3 is the highest of these 3 stages, characterized by responsibility and service and empathy and the ability to really track and take care of what needs to happen. That's called initiative. This is stage 3, and you can see at stage 3 as a parent, you can back off. You don't have to take much control because they are exercising the maturity to do that themselves. It's important to understand those 3 stages as we try to come up with some strategies of how to help our kids to focus at school. So that leads us to these 2 specific tips that I wanted to share. And the first of these is called situational planning. Situational planning is what every parent does very naturally when they know that a young child is going to be in their home, or if you've got one living in your home, you baby-proof the place, right? Meaning you go around and you take the things that are low, that are fragile, and you put those up high or out of reach of the child. You arrange things in the home to have an environment that is the least likely to have a problem with that young child. The same thing can be done at school. Now you're going to need the assistance of the teacher to do this because situational planning at school might mean that we're going to seat your child up front rather than in the back of the room. You might make sure that this child is seated between 2 classmates that are least likely to disrupt him or distract him. You might have other arrangements that you make with the teacher that basically set up an environment that minimizes the chance that your child is going to be distracted or lose focus. That's what we call situational planning. You can do this at home too, in terms of the environment where your child is doing the homework or the assignments from school. Do you just send them off to do their homework? Or do you sit them down at the kitchen table that's well lit and free from other distractions like television, video games, electronic devices? You get the picture. So we're setting it up for success. Now let's expand that tip into something that's a little bit more general. So tip number 2 has to do with lifestyle and practice. We can set up a culture within the home, within the family, that supports focusing at school, being mature, getting your work done, fill in the blanks with whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish with your child. When I think of this particular tip, I remember what one of my college professors told me. He said, it's a pretty good idea to remember Grandma's rule. What is Grandma's rule? I didn't know of any particular rule that Grandma had. He went on to explain, Grandma's rule is that you always work before you play. Now this sounds simple, but think about how the culture of your own home can change if that is the rule. Kids come home from school. They got some homework to get done, right? It's so tempting to say, oh, let's just take a break. Let's just give it some time. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But it's sometimes harder to come back to the schoolwork than it is to come off of the energy of school and just get it done right then. Plus, they've had the transition time from school to get it done. However you want to set this up is fine. Think work before play. Your kids are going to be much more likely to focus on their school before they get into things like video games or recreational activities. So take that momentum and let that build. And it's going to take some practice. Don't expect your child to just click right into hyper-focus mode. It takes a little while for these changes to take hold and for you to get the culture and the environment set up in a way that supports it. So be tolerant and patient with yourself and with your child, and you're going to get there. That's only 2 of several tips that we've shared here in other videos on the Positive Parenting playlist. Go check that out. You also might want to go to parentingpowerup.com where we have some other resources for you. We're happy to be on your parenting team.
In the street alone. Her head was down, face locked onto the phone.